So, if you can tell me, Rebecca, obviously some of these statistics they're quite alarming in terms of how people with epilepsy are feeling embarrassed, confused, anxious, that kind of thing, having a seizure in a public place. Can you tell me a little bit about why exactly, though, people with epilepsy are avoiding or would like to, are avoiding public spaces, and what they are looking for from now on in?
Yeah, so obviously what the research has highlighted is that going out and going about your normal day-to-day for someone with epilepsy is really challenging. And it's not just challenging because they've got a condition that could at any point, result in a seizure, but it's also challenging because the people that are surrounding them when they go out do not understand what to do when someone has a seizure, and that's making them nervous, and that's really sad because it's really simple to support someone. And we want people with epilepsy to feel like they can go about their normal day in the same way as everyone else. So that's why we've kind of used National Epilepsy Week, which is this week, to talk about how people can care, and use that acronym to sort of, think about what they could do if they do meet someone or see someone who is having a seizure.
But why are people with epilepsy avoiding public spaces, if you like? I mean, why do they feel the need to avoid them after these, whether that's before these statistics have come into place, and maybe more so after these statistics have come out?
Because they feel that the lack of awareness within the public of epilepsy and what epilepsy is means that if something does happen to them when they're out, that they won't get the support they need. And so it's a vicious cycle, because as soon as you hear these stories or you haven't got that confidence, then obviously that's going to make you much more wary about going out. And that's across the board. That's in workplaces, that's in leisure facilities, that's just generally being, public transport. There's, it's very ad hoc where people know about epilepsy and know how to respond. And what we see is if someone employs someone who's got epilepsy, then the rest of the team will start doing that training, and start understanding what to do. But for sort of people working generally, they won't necessarily have the training and the awareness to support people.
Why is it that there might not be enough public space support for people with epilepsy that might have a seizure in a public space?
I think I think it is one of those kind of often an unseen thing that, because people with epilepsy are being careful where they go, then less people are coming across people who are having seizures, and then they don't know how to respond. And you get the stories about people, thinking that someone was drunk, and throwing them off a bus, or, like removing them from a train. And it's not that they're drunk, they are having a seizure, and that's really, really hard and really challenging for people with epilepsy to deal with.
In terms of Cambridgeshire, there's a fair few hundreds, thousands of people with epilepsy. Do you know the situation regarding those people, and whether any people in the county might be feeling the same way in terms of public seizures?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got a specific on Cambridgeshire, but I can tell you that the epilepsy has no boundaries. It is completely across every age group, every demographic, every different type of community. Epilepsy does not focus on one type of person. So people in Cambridgeshire are going to have the same issues as people across the country. And they will be calling in the same way for people to understand more about what they can do.
How long do you feel this stigma regarding regarding support for people that might have public seizures, how long do you think this has been going on for?
Oh, I think it's been there as long as people have named epilepsy, as a condition. And it's really sad, like we're in an era now where we know so much and we communicate so much, and yet still this is something, and the word stigma is used. It's used by people with epilepsy and their families and friends, that there is a stigma around it. And I think it is partly that, that thing that you don't necessarily come across it very often, or when you do come across it, you don't understand it. So I think it's really challenging. And so what we're saying is just learn a few steps, and that's it. That's what you need to have, and then you'll be confident if you do come across someone with epilepsy that you can support them.
Yeah, in terms of those steps, what needs to be done? What are the main points that need to be done by members of the public, say, in Cambridgeshire in particular, to try and help people who end up having a public seizure?
Yeah, so it's really simple. We're saying you don't need to be an expert, you just need to care. And the care is 4 steps, really. So the C stands for comfort. So if you see someone who's having a seizure, who's fallen to the floor, just make sure they're comfortable, cushion their head, make sure that they're in a position that they can breathe easily. And then the action bit is see if there's anything on that person that gives them, there's identification or instructions about how to help them. It might be a bracelet, it might be something they wear around their neck. But often people who have regular seizures will have some information that will help you, and start timing it as well. Time the seizure as much as you can. And then the R stands for reassure. So you should never restrain anyone. You should just stay by them and talk to them. And then when they regain consciousness, that they know someone's there to support them. And then the final one, the E, stands for emergency. So if a seizure goes on for longer than 5 minutes, or there's some indication this might be the first time someone's having a seizure, or they go straight into a second seizure, they're the times when you phone the ambulance. Anything else, anything other than that, just being there and just supporting that person as they regain consciousness is the best thing you can do.
And how confident do you feel that with these steps, with this advice, with this research, how this stigma in Cambridgeshire particularly will be limited, if you like, will be reduced, so people with epilepsy will feel more confident to go out in public spaces? How confident do you feel about that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we at time and time again, we're a charity that's been going 70 years, and I can guarantee every survey we do, it's help the public understand epilepsy will be at the top of the priorities, rather than help us, with our condition. And so we've got to keep getting this message out and making sure that people understand what's going on.